So I know you said you wanted to talk about the other smaller companies. Let's dive into that, right? We were talking about the other smaller companies that you're involved with and things of that nature, and you know, you building them out and things. Let you know what type of information do you want to give us on that, or want the people to know about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's kind of like the latest chapter in my journey, and I've,
Okay.
appreciated how we talked a lot about, even from my, upbringing and very beginnings to the chapter that I'm in now, which is like a few years later. A few years ago, sorry, I realized that I love startups, right? I love these early stage companies that are building and doing new things. But I was at this job that was very good and that I felt, happy and comfortable and all the things that you said before, Chad. And so I was like, okay, I'm not ready to leave this, but I want to be exposed and work closely with early stage companies. And so I started doing advisory and kind of mentoring some entrepreneurs, people that could, learn from my experience in terms of joining Snap early stage and my background in advertising. And that quickly started to get me into the world of venture capital. And that's really what I'm passionate about now. And it's just part of my adventure. And I've been told also that like I'm crazy for thinking of doing that, or that I don't have the background because in that industry a lot of people think that you need to be somebody from product or from engineering, or you have to be a founder yourself. They don't see a sales guy or somebody that's worked on advertising as good people to be investors or to be venture capitalists. And that's been my life story, so I don't care about that and I'm still going for it, right? And so for the last few years I've gone really deep into learning about that space. I don't have a finance background, I don't have a banking background, or any of this traditional background that maybe you would get into venture capital from, but that has never stopped me before. And even this, stage in my career that I'm in is still not stopping me to basically just start from scratch, start at the bottom, and just, be a brand new investor. And so I've been learning. I've been putting in the time, putting in the 10,000 hours, and it's been, incredible. I've become really passionate about this because you meet incredible people that are building awesome companies and then have a view into the future of where technology is going with AI, for example, now is basically trying to find the next Snapchats, right? When they were super, super early, when they're 10 people, when they're 5 people, and they have great ideas on how to apply these AI technologies and other new technologies for things like that. And so that's my focus. I have a portfolio to date of about 16 companies that I've invested in, and I'm actively investing, basically. And so if you guys know, if anybody's listening, or if you guys know what could be the next kind of generation of consumer or social tech startups, I'd love to meet them, and always kind of actively looking to meet those founders and talk to them and see if we can help either through investments or through advisory.
Welcome to OTB Digital. The next one's up. I heard about them.
Crazy. Again, it's a hell of a pivot, Max. Not to say that you can't do it, but once again, like that's what they're saying to you. Like that's one hell of a pivot. Most people that do VC work, finance, you know what I mean? Business, finance, something along that line, right? Again, not to say that you can't do it, right? But that's what they're saying. Like that's a hell of a pivot from where you was at to like you want to do what now? You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, but I want to ask you a business question. Now, when you're investing in these companies, right, and you're helping build it, right? We just talked about how to make sales easier, right? How do you approach them when you're investing? How do you the valuation, negotiation? What things are you doing for the company? How do you navigate all of that space to make sure you get value?
Totally. So one thing I'll say again, I'm still learning. I'm very honest about that. It's only been I've been doing this actively for about 3 years, and that's very short in this game because you have to see these companies play out over 10-year timelines or so, right? And so even the companies that I mentioned that I've invested in today, who knows, right? Time will tell if I'm making the right decisions or not, right? So to your question, I've been learning about it, right? So I'm still kind of refining some of that. A lot of the valuations as a small time investor and a lot of the terms and as you start to invest are basically just handed to you, and there's little in negotiation that you can do because, as you can imagine, and I'm happy to talk about this too, that like you don't need to be a billionaire to be an angel investor, and you don't need to be, you know hugely wealthy in order to get into this game of buying small shares of small businesses, whether they're in tech or not, right? So democratizing that and lowering the entry level so that people feel like this is more accessible is very important to me. But as a small time investor, right, that is not signing millions of dollars in investments, you don't have as much negotiation, right? And so you're oftentimes just given terms, and then it's up to you to know if you like them or not. And so that's the part that I've been learning and being really disciplined on. Is I might love the companies, or I was just looking at a company today that Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, is an investor on, and you get to see all these big names sometimes attached to these companies, and so it gets really attractive. There's a little bit of FOMO that comes with it, and you're like, oh, and it even kind of loops back to the conversation we were having before of recruiting, and that's where you apply some of those learnings into this game, and some of the stuff is very transferable. So it might be very attractive. Oh, Sam Altman or Mark Zuckerberg or Mark Cuban investing in these companies, right? That doesn't mean it's a good investment for Max Rivera, who's investing very small money. And there's all of these people, right? And so I've been very disciplined on that at times, because also when companies have those names attached, the valuations to your question on valuation just goes up because it has this vanity name to it, right? And so I've been really good at that, of saying, okay, yeah, we'd love to be around the same cap table and the same ownership table as these people that I look up to, but not at that price. At that price, I'm honest with myself. I can't afford that, or it's just not economically sensible for me to do it at that price. And so I have to say no sometimes to opportunities that I feel bad about, that I'm like, fuck, I wish I could be there, right? I wish I could see that company. But at that price, it's just too much for me and where I'm investing. So I'm trying to be very honest around that. And so I have now learned to have kind of my price range and where I like to stay in. And then I try to stay very disciplined in terms of that price range of valuations on these companies.
Message. Real. Yeah, Max, you're a beast. I ain't gonna lie to you. You're a beast, man. I'm glad we had this conversation. This is crazy. I love it.
Yeah, you definitely
gone in
dropped
so
a lot
many
of
directions.
knowledge.
Well, that's why I didn't forget to say phenomenal at the beginning of the thing, because I knew he was going to come on and drop some gems. You know what I mean?